On this week's news, nothing. Not only is it a long weekend, but this is meant to be a satire show, and it's really hard to do that when you literally have a major media outlet running news about the harrowing tragedy of Christopher Luxon wanting a robot lawnmower and then getting a robot lawnmower. And it's a great way for me to introduce you to a few tricks that you might spot that are designed to trick you into believing the coalition is competent, but it does make it tougher to do a fake news story. Fluff piece actually is one of those tricks. It's a type of media laundering designed to boost someone's public image and humanize them. And Christopher Luxon has had a constant issue since becoming National Party leader that people just don't relate well to him for some reason. It's weird. It's like a wealthy, sort of condescending, entitled millionaire landlord is somehow not that relatable to the wider public. So fluff pieces like this going into the election period are designed with the very specific purpose of making him seem relatable to plebs like us. Another thing that our media does is gatekeeping. It's when they pick how a news item is framed and what information you, the audience, are entitled to make your decisions around how you feel on an issue. Take this news piece, for example, from Radio New Zealand about former National Party MP Harete Hipango Brownlee. She's the latest former MP to join New Zealand First, and most of this article frames her work around her time with Judith Collins and some of her fascinating, interesting family history. The second to last paragraph mentions any controversy, and most audiences make up their mind on an issue within the first paragraph. In reality, Hipango is the only sitting MP to take part in a Voices for Freedom anti-griftathon event. She lied about abortion legislation changes, claiming Jacinda was allowing full-term abortions on demand. She posted content on social media with quotes from Ardern that Ardern actually never said, and then refused to take them down or apologise. She used Parliamentary Services funding to buy her own furniture for her home, and she had staff regularly go onto Wikipedia to edit the bits about her she didn't like. She is perfect for modern New Zealand First. A party whose leader is actually the only MP who's still in Parliament 40 years ago to the week when the homosexual law reform bill went through, and is still using the same populist bullshit he did to oppose it then as to what he does now to whip up foment in his culture war salvos against the trans community. I guess some things never change. And you can find a huge range of content with gatekeeping framing like this one, where the National Party admits it was never going to be able to deliver the roads it promised in 2023, but here it is in a more measured framing about phased approaches. Or there's this one where Nicola Willis downplays further OCR hikes, despite the fact the Monetary Committee is saying that there probably will be because the economy is in the toilet. Or this one where the Minister for Smoking says not to worry about excise tax reductions on tobacco products, and she can be trusted with the laws around smoking, right? That framing is a really specific type of gatekeeping that most people don't realise is happening. Just like a trick that we're seeing National roll out now called borrowed equity on their social media feeds. You probably haven't come across the term, but chances are you've seen the product on your feed. It's National's new fake podcast social media videos. Now, podcasting is actually what we call a high-trust medium because it's seen as inherently intimate. From the conversational nature of most podcasts to the fact that we actually tend to listen to them with headphones in, it's an intimate media form. And by adopting the look of a podcast, this is designed to trigger a form of psychological trust that our brain is less likely to question. It's what we call visual heuristics and feed disruption. A podcast look on a platform like TikTok or Facebook indicates to viewers that this is part of a bigger story and they should be paying more attention, and that tends to slow down how fast people will scroll past it. But on the other side, when audiences see it's fake, they tend to hold on to the skepticism of the source for a lot longer because of the way that it is such an intimate form of communication. So are these fake? Well, when was the last time you saw a National MP on a podcast? I can point directly to Labour and Green MPs on them. I've had them on mine. But National MPs, they're notoriously more difficult to pin down and just as notoriously picky about the ones that they consider being on. Like when Christopher Luxon refuses to do Q&A with Jack Tame, but he tried to get on between two beers to launder his own public view. And then there's the flooding of the zone with shit. This is actually a term that was coined by Donald Trump's mate Steve Bannon when excessive volumes of crap get pumped out to overwhelm the information ecosystem. Winston does this with what I assume are his speeches at rallies. That or he's dribbling and talking in his sleep in a sundown moment. It might be both. There's so much shit in there that it becomes difficult for media to know how to cover the worst of it. National have been doing this in a slightly different way this election by flooding social media with AI to create outrage over fictional scenarios that don't actually exist. Remember the Pixar-like cartoon around Labour policies, or the National Party showing up to staunch out a teenager playing games and not working at any of the no jobs out there because somebody shat the economy? Nicola. And after Luxon said that they wouldn't rely on AI for this sort of thing and then doing it anyway, the outrage suddenly shifts from the thing that you should be outraged about to the way that they are telling you to be outraged and the way those messages are delivered. So how do you deal with it if our media is seemingly in on it and social media won't hold them to account? Well, start by watching this video and other videos like this so that you can learn the techniques and you can be more skeptical of content and news being presented to you. Ask awkward questions on their social media pages like, hey, where can I listen to this podcast? Or do you really think AI is the best way to showcase what you're trying to say here? Or comment on media social output that you're concerned people aren't getting the full story because of, and then talk about whatever it is that's missing from the story or the way that it's framed. And make sure other people around you are aware of it. You can share screenshots, for example, on your social media pages explaining why it's an issue, and you can frame it as pointedly or as broadly as you want that way. And finally, look at multiple sources for information and news to see how different outlets frame the same news piece to get a wider view of what's being presented to you. Remember, news here is kind of forced by horrible people to both sides an issue and their views, which legitimizes them in a way. So take that on board. Not everyone can be as objective as I am on my election website, election2026.co.nz, where I'm happy to mention those things about He Pango that RNZ didn't, or how the new ACT candidate for Glendine ran with Voices for Freedom aligned conspiracy grifters in the local body elections last year. And it's entirely up to you on where you get your information and how you interpret it. So you should have as many tools as possible to make the decisions that are right for you this election season. Hello there, Kia ora podcast listeners. I just wanted to do one where I got to sit around and poke at some of the stuff I've been seeing online. I was actually really annoyed when I saw the Radio New Zealand piece on He Pango and how they whitewashed her horrible track record, but it tracks that, an MP who was dumb enough to fall for Voices for Freedom and their grifting was going to jump onto the New Zealand First bandwagon. Have you seen the rest of the shit people that they've got lined up on there so far? They're awful. And I really hope that every shitty MP that they get is one step further from getting into Parliament, but we're not going to know that for a while. And every time they get somebody shitty on like this, it kind of solidifies the voter base who love those shitty people and fall for these shitty grifts, that this is the party they should vote for, which means we just need to get the vote number up for everybody else. So everybody else, just so we can get them out of the way, because it annoys me so much. But I wanted to use a few of those more technical tools that I've got in my tool belt as well to try and explain things to people. Like, why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? So you can train yourself so that you don't get tricked by it. Because that's the worst part for me of all of this. I can see the tricks and I can see people falling for them. And I don't just sit there and go, well, I kind of don't like this, so I'm doing it. It's one of the things I actually find the most fascinating with the comment section is people who grumble at me when I say things like, our media has a right-wing bias. It's this kind of stuff that I'm talking about that shapes that. But the number of people like, well, you don't know that. This media hates the government. But they don't, from people who aren't qualified or experienced or trained in this. It's like, when you go to a doctor and say you don't know what you're talking about, and then I remember for a lot of them, they did. They did, like Haurete He Pango. They did go to a doctor and go, you don't know what you're talking about. And they all want to vote for New Zealand First. So please, make sure you are enrolled to vote at vote.nz. It's a long weekend. Go and check that. And then, make sure you're ready to vote on November 7th. In the meantime, I'm going to let you get back to your Matariki celebrations. There's a podcast, a newsletter coming out tomorrow for everybody, like free for everybody tomorrow. You can access it now if you want to, if you want to pay for it. But free tomorrow for everyone on Matariki itself, which is quite fascinating. I hope you enjoy that. In the meantime, go and enjoy your long weekend. I'm going to go and freeze my ass off up a mountain in the middle of nowhere. I might do some Lord of the Rings stuff because we're going to Mount Ruapehu. I've got to do... Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, I'm going to go make some Lord of the Rings content. I will catch you guys all next week.